It's Tuesday and it's time for Falcon Focus. Welcome to this week's edition of Falcon Focus, episode 109, our final episode here in the 2022-23 school year. It's our 24th here in season number 4, our 12th here in semester number 2. And we have a big lineup. 3 segments. In segment number 3, our focus will be on softball. We'll talk with head coach Steve Crook as they prepare to successfully defend last year's NAC Tournament Championship. Their journey begins on Thursday down in Montgomery, Illinois. Their first game slated for a 7 o'clock first pitch. In segment number 2, our focus, our Student Workers of the Year. The Daxotes were announced that on Sunday. We'll be joined by the Department of Athletic Communications Students of the Year, that being Co-Students of the Year, Morgan Bolts along with Ellie Fuchs. But up first, our focus on women's tennis and wrapping up a fantastic career with senior Ricky Budowitz. My name is Matt Mendel. Thanks for joining us for Falcon Focus. And Ricky, thanks for joining us here for episode 109. And for the Falcon women's tennis team, able to get to the conference tournament championship, win the championship for the 11th time, beating St. Norbert in the semis, Edgewood in the final. When you look back at the NAC tournament run, how are you guys able to get it done this year?
I think focusing on one match at a time and what we need to work on just for what's ahead of us. So kind of focusing on going into the semifinals, having a clean match, kind of getting us ready for what we were going to do on Sunday or at the championship, and focusing on coming in strong in doubles and playing really clean there, and then hopefully doing well in singles as well. And then for Sunday, really focusing again on doubles because those points are very important to get the lead, and then taking it to them in singles as well because they're a very strong singles team, too.
I was going to say, I'm guessing, throughout the years, Edgewood being the opponent in the final, not a lot of surprises there, huh? You guys have seen Edgewood a lot.
Yes, yeah, they're and we had seen them in the fall too, so there we kind of knew what to expect. There were a few lineup changes for both teams, so a few spots we're seeing different players, but overall we know that they're a very tough opponent, and we have to play our best to be able to beat them, and I think that we were able to do that.
Yeah, and again, able to do so for the 11th Conference Tournament Championship for the women's tennis program. So back to the NCAA tournament with the Falcons last week in Chicago against Carleton. And yes, the match didn't go the way of the Falcons, but how special, was that experience being able to play in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it's definitely a very cool opportunity. We're very grateful that we were able to do that this year. We really want to also get a point at the national tournament, which would be really cool. So we weren't able to do that, but I think just being able to compete against different opponents and being able to travel as a team to play there is just a really special opportunity as well.
So overall, for you, for the team, how did you feel the season went?
I think we went well. I'll speak for myself, but I think it went really well. Obviously, being the regular season champions and the conference tournament champions is kind of part of what our goal always is. So being able to accomplish that is really important. And I think that everyone was really dedicated to that goal, and everyone put in the hard work to achieve that.
When you look at doubles, you've been number one doubles the last at least 3 seasons with Ashley Samuda as your partner. How in sync have you two been, having played together for so many years together?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely helpful having the same partner. We kind of have a lot of unspoken movements and just being able to kind of read what we know what each other is going to do. Even just playing with other people, other partners at practice, it's just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I'm playing with Ashley, I might not notice that we do things, but I think it really helps, and we're kind of on the same page with when we want to be aggressive and go for things, or when we know we need to be really focused on being solid within a point or within a game. So it's definitely very helpful having the same partner, and she's a great partner, so that makes it a lot easier.
When you reflect on your Concordia career, how do you feel like you've grown as a player? How have you grown both on and off the court?
Um, Definitely a lot of ways. I think coming in as a freshman, which seems like a long time ago, I really didn't know what to expect, but definitely had great senior leadership that year that really showed what the women's tennis team is all about and all the qualities that are important. But then also great coaching, obviously, through all the years with the head coach, but then also the GAs have just been very helpful. Um, so I think knowledge-wise for tennis, definitely a lot because it's a lot different than high school, so that makes a difference. So definitely a lot, and just being more competitive, more confident on the court, and then that translates to off the court as well. So whether it's in like school or work, being more confident and being, I don't know, I feel like there are a lot of things. So just being able to have great coaching to set an example that. And it really helps that they want us to grow like on the court and off the court. So I think that really helps us to achieve that.
How about on the court? Was it challenging? Okay, you took over number one singles, 3, 4 years ago, full time over the last 3 seasons. Talked about being number one doubles for a number of years. Was it challenging to maintain that level? Because obviously the expectations are there then. If you're number one, the expectations are there. Was that challenging ever for you to, every year the bars raise that much higher for you?
Yeah, definitely. I would say the first year that I was at one, it was definitely challenging. I think that I don't know if I was ready for it, but I think that it was just a lot different than I was expecting. And we're kind of we didn't get to finish out the season due from COVID. So it's hard to say how that first year would have played out, but I think that I was a little nervous, but also like playing the best player on every single team, I think was mentally challenging for me. But I think that as I went into the next seasons, knowing that like I wanted to be one, that kind of helped change my mindset and make it a little bit less of a daunting task. But also knowing that I have like all of the teammates that like want to see me succeed as well, so that was helpful.
Is there a match or two from your career that stand out among the rest?
Yeah, I would say for singles, the fall game or match this last fall when for the against Edgewood, when I was playing. I guess it was the match that clinched it, but I didn't know what the score was at that time, which was probably a good thing. And Jeremy was on my court, and he was helping coach me through that.
Yeah, can you explain that to me? Because he's taking credit for that win, and he says he's 1-0 as the head coach of the tennis team. So I'd like to get clarification as to can we confirm or deny?
I would say that while he was on my court, I did win that match. So whether that was, I think that part of that can be due to his coaching and just helping me stay calm and not getting too ahead of myself and knowing that I would be able to do it and just kind of being there for me as someone to talk to when I was kind of going a little crazy.
I'm going to take that as the jury is still out on whether or not he gets the win.
I would say that he was very helpful in that moment. But yeah, that was a very good match, and I just felt like that was a really fun one too because it was a great environment, and that helped us reach one of our goals and being conference regular season champions. But there are also definitely a lot of other fun ones. Like playing in the rain on one spring break was a lot of fun, and just a lot of great other wins, and in doubles too, of course.
You've accomplished so much on the court and a number of accolades that come your direction, including later on today you'll officially be announced as a CSC Academic All-District Award winner. Is there one accomplishment, accolade that means the most to you?
I would say the ones that we kind of win as a team, because obviously, like, we're able to do things individually, but I think that it means the most when we win things as a team, and it really takes a team effort. So even if we win a match, like overall as a team, but I lost my individual matches, I think that it still is kind of important and kind of good to feel that team support as well. So I would say probably like this last tournament that we won was probably the most special and one that I think was the most fun, just because it was like the entire team and everybody really wanted to win that. And I think that showed.
What is the best advice you've ever been given on or off the court that has served you well when it comes to playing tennis?
I think that Steve had told me this during one of my matches once, was just that, like, this is the moment that you want. So instead of feeling like the negative pressure or feeling nerves, just kind of accepting the moment and going into it with confidence and like the desire to win, or just the desire to put all your effort into it. So no matter the outcome, just like appreciating the moment and just being like grateful that you're even playing in that moment.
I'm guessing right now it just seems like a normal, it's the off season now. But reality is that your time at Concordia is coming to a close as far as tennis goes. Any tennis in the future for you?
Yeah. Well, I play tennis with my dad over the summer, so we play in like a mixed doubles league, which is a lot of fun. A little bit different environment. It's a little bit more laid back, which is a lot of fun. But then also just like hitting with friends, and getting together and playing in more of a relaxed way, which is good too.
To wrap it all up, what is your major and what's next then? And what do you hope to do with that major?
Yeah, so I am I'll be working. My major is human resources, and then also getting my master's MBA in leadership as well. So kind of using that. So currently using that in HR here in the area. So looking forward to continuing doing that and being able to use my skills there.
Well, Ricky, congrats on all your success. All the best to you, and thanks for everything.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Ricky Budowicz, one of the best to ever play women's tennis at Concordia, Wisconsin. When we come back, again, a logjam of guests here on Falcon Focus. Segment 3, we talk softball with Steve Crook. But up next, we talk DAC Sody Award winners with Morgan Boltz, Ellie Fuchs.
You have 33 years of memories in this house, the most valuable things you will ever own. And that is why we exist.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus, our final edition here in the 2022-23 school year. Segment number 2, our focus on the DAC Sody Award winners, the Department of Athletic Communications Students of the Year Award winners. To my right, we have Morgan Boltz. To her right, we have Ellie Fuchs. Also note the DAC Sody Newcomers of the Year, named Ellie Phillips and Abby Schrader. Still to come, our third segment, we focus on softball as they begin their NAC tournament journey. We'll talk with their head coach, Steve Crook. But Morgan and Ellie, congrats on the win for them, the Student Workers of the Year in the Athletic Communications Office. It's given out annually to the hardest workers and according to their peers, the most enjoyable workers to work with throughout the course of the school year. But upon receiving the DAC Sody on Sunday, what does the honor mean to you guys?
I think it means a lot. I mean, I've been in the office for 4 years now. This is my first time winning the award. I feel like I've put a lot of work in. I feel like I have been kind of a leader throughout. I think that it just means a lot to see that everyone, my peers around me, see what I am putting forth, and it's just an honor to win something like this.
Yeah, I would agree. I obviously haven't been here as long as Morgan has, but I definitely look up to her, so that's really nice. But it's also nice to be recognized by, your former colleagues and stuff like that. It just shows that, like, your hard work is paying off in a way that other people are noticing, the effort that you put in, so that's nice.
So when and why did you start working in athletics and in the communications department?
I started the second semester of my freshman year. I worked for about 2 months, and then COVID hit. And ever since then, I've just been back every semester, and every semester I've just picked up more positions. And the last 2 years, I've been primarily PA, but I know how to run pretty much everything through a broadcast, so it's been a really good learning experience.
Yeah, for me, I actually switched my major to sports and entertainment business, and so I wanted to kind of indulge myself more in the sports world, and I needed an on-campus job. So I'm super glad that I found it. It's actually helped me a lot with, friends, keeping me busy, obviously learning so much as I go too.
Morgan, you touched on it already, some of the responsibilities, but what are some of the jobs you've taken on, and maybe what's your favorite of the jobs you've taken on?
So I think my favorite job would probably be PA. It is stressful. You're talking to an entire stadium of people. Everyone knows that it's me. Everyone knows who it is. But I also like running the truck and social media, just kind of those little aspects behind the scenes that you can't really see going on, but it's producing good content.
And if you skew someone's name up on the PA, especially the other team, you tend to hear about it.
Oh yeah, that comes with the job.
Those pronunciation guides, some of them, hey, guys, they need some work. Ellie?
I'd say my favorite job is probably production truck. I think it's a job for a perfectionist, and I actually kind of found it by accident. I didn't really know what it was. I kind of just got signed up for it one day, and since then, that's what I've signed up for every single time. I've actually never done PA, though, strictly because I'm afraid to pronounce somebody's name wrong. So
it's tough.
We'll see if I get there one day.
Would you ever try it?
I got a whole nother year in the office, so maybe I would sign up for it, yeah. But I don't know. Morgan's got a really great voice for it. I'm not sure if I'm quite there.
Do you have a favorite? Obviously, you like all the sports, but is there a favorite sport or one sport you prefer to cover?
My favorite this year the last 2 years is probably football. PAing the football games was something really special to me. I kind of stepped into the role and just took it right on. After every game, the players were always like super excited that I was up there and that I was keeping the stadium hyped up, and it was that's a really big role. So I'm really glad that I could accomplish that and I felt successful in it.
Yeah, I would say for me it would probably be the men's or women's hockey games, just because I grew up in hockey, and so I know that game the best, and it's the most entertaining for me to watch. And I also, doing production truck and working all the cameras, I watch hockey a lot, so it's easy for me to translate, what angles would look good, when I should switch the camera, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I really enjoy those.
You seem to be the one that gets it, too. When you go to the Ozaki Ice Center, you have to dress in multiple layers. You come prepared. Some don't, and those are the ones that tend to be complaining about the first period. They want to go home.
Oh, yeah, especially when they have back-to-back men's and women's games. I know I really got to prepare myself, bring blankets, hand warmers, food, extra coat, literally anything that'll just get me through, because other people will complain, so yeah.
So then the hope for both of you is to work in sports one day?
Yeah, that's kind of my main goal. After graduation, I plan to continue working with the Brewers right now. Right now I'm an intern in partnerships and suites. It's just kind of getting that more of the taste of sports and the behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on, just like what we do here.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to start out in sports and just kind of see where it takes me. I really like the business side of sports, so maybe one day it'll kind of transfer out into just regular business work. But, I mean, as I'm young and as I'm kind of exploring, I think the sports world is the best opportunities for me and kind of where my passion lies.
Morgan, you started off here playing soccer, and then obviously it's branched out. And you mentioned from a PA standpoint, she'll be on the mic one final time, at least here at Concordia, in her current role. That at Capco Park coming up on Thursday, first couple of games of the NAC baseball tournament. But you mentioned it, okay, right now interning with the Milwaukee Brewers. You've had some pretty unique internship opportunities over the last few years, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've done a Super Bowl. I have done college football playoffs. I worked with the Wisconsin Woodchucks. Last summer, I interned with WISN 12 and the Sports Reporters. So everything is kind of just building up to figuring out where I want to go with it. Every role has been so different, and I'm just grateful that I've had all the opportunity to explore all these roles before I get out of college.
Ellie, you're coming off a women's lacrosse season, in which a great year, finishing in second place. Just missed out on the NAC Tournament Championship against Aurora on Saturday. You were first team all-conference. How do you feel the lacrosse season went?
I was super happy with how it went, both personally and as a team. Since COVID, we really had to do a culture rebuild, and we had to kind of start from the ground up, and so it's finally starting to come together. And I mean, even our record from last year versus our record this year is incredible improvement.
Night and day.
Yeah, night and day for sure. So that's something that I'm looking forward to also, is just continuously improving the program, and I'm glad that I'm there to do that.
Now, both of you have been on the show before, but Ellie, when you were on, we talked about speed skating. You're an accomplished speed skater. Give us an update on how speed skating is going.
It's going well. I'm in the off season right now, so thankfully my body gets a little bit of a rest, but it'll start back up probably really soon. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. We'll see how long it takes me to get back into it. And yeah, I'm excited for it.
So finally, what's next? Okay, Morgan, you're done now at Concordia. So
Yep.
what's the hope? What's next for you?
Well, I hope to continue to stay with the Brewers. I really want to move up into a full-time role there. It's going to take a little time, but like every day at work, there's something new. So I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I want to do, because I'm working in about 3 different departments with my internship. So I just hope to be staying in the area and working in some sort of sports.
Ellie, you're hoping to be back another year?
Oh yeah, I definitely will be back in the athletic communications office for sure, spending a lot more time hopefully too.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Congrats to both of you on the Dax Sodi Award Sunday,
Thank you.
and all the best. And Ellie, we'll see you next year, and we'll see you on the mic on Thursday.
Yes,
You can
you
hear
will.
her at Campco Park for the NAC baseball tournament, which will be here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and possibly Sunday. So Ellie Fuchs, Morgan Bolts, our Dax Sodi Award winners. Again, also congrats to Ellie Phillips and Abby Schrader, the Dax Sodi newcomers of the year. One more segment, and then we're done with Falcon Focus. When we come back, our focus on softball. We talk with softball head coach Steve Crook.
Since 1978, Lutheran Church Extension Fund has had the humble privilege of supporting the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod in fulfilling its mission of sharing the gospel.
Thanks to our faithful investors, we provided thousands of church workers, congregations, schools, and organizations with the resources they need to reach more people with the saving name of Christ. It's what we do.
Because our greatest joy comes from seeing LCMS Ministries and her workers thrive, we will continue to make precious resources available, both today and far into the future. It's our promise to you.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund. We want to be part of your great and exciting work.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus, our 109th episode, our final episode here in the 2022-23 school year. This is episode 24 here in season number 4, our 12th here in semester number 2. Our third and final segment, we focus on softball as the Falcons look to successfully defend last year's NAC Tournament Championship. The NAC Tournament will begin from Montgomery, Illinois, coming up on Thursday, and for the Falcons slated to play at 7 p.m. Being joined by Falcon head coach Steve Crook, back for his 24th season at the helm. And what a season it's been so far. The Falcons with 34 victories and 3 defeats, finished 23-0 in regular season NAC competition, their 4th consecutive NAC regular season championship. They have won 25 consecutive games. As of right now, ranked 14th in the nation, number 1 in the region. We can go on and on and on. What a resume so far. But when you look at this team, what has made this team so successful?
Well, first of all, Matt, good morning. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here. I'm a big fan of yours, and I've known Matt for longer than he'd like to admit. The key to success in any program is development, getting players in. It's not always about skill development. It's about team development. And every year you're rethinking that. And we obviously have some tremendously talented players. Those individual players in and of themselves can't make a team. You could come to our senior game and watch players who just truly belong that don't play every single day. You can watch us with situational players and see how they contribute. That team concept, that team development is really what we have to focus on. And especially, I think that's a Division III. I think that's really sincerely Division III. But if you want to go to one skill position, Certainly on the defensive side, we have been phenomenal, both pitching and defense, and we're in the tops in the country in both categories of ERA and fielding percentage.
Was there a different approach when you went into this season, preparing for this season, being that you had so many experienced players back? Were you able to kind of pick up where you left off from last season?
I think as a coach, you're able to take some things and step back and say, what do you need? You can ask players that. And I think when you talk to coaches and you realize you have a team that you can ask those questions of, you know you're in a really good place.
Mm-hmm.
Stepping back and letting players give input and getting that feedback and having those conversations, and that's one of the things that I think we really pride ourselves on. So the approach in terms of that, you have to, as a coach, adapt every year. This year, probably the thing that we've adapted to the most is trust, but we're a different team, and we lost some really good offensive players last year. So that to fill that, you didn't know exactly where that was going to come from, but certainly players have stepped up and filled those roles, and that's been a very gratifying thing to watch and see and continue to develop that.
When you look at consistency in the circle, Gina Fallowell made her 100th pitching appearance in Game 1 against El Verno on Sunday. And again, it seems like good for 10-plus strikeouts on a fairly regular basis. How enjoyable has she been to watch in her time as a Falcon?
Beyond words, beyond the circle, all right? And we'll quickly talk about both of them, and I know
Sure.
that's a conversation that we are able to do. We're fortunate enough to talk about two pitchers. Gina's not only an All-American, she's a great young lady. If I ask her a question, if I challenge her, if I push her, if our coaching staff pushes her, she responds. And that is an important thing. We don't coach her any differently than anyone else. And yet that ability for her to be that player, and if you walked into practice, you'd still see her shagging fly balls and running around behind the fence, and me probably going, Gina, no diving today, and you've seen that. But they are together, Nikki and Gina, the most successful duo in program history. And I challenge people to go back and say, look at some of the other players, Jamie Shue, Melissa Perkins, Danny Burke, Sarah Renicky, Angela Steffen, then Angela Hilgendorf. There's been some tremendous pitching in this program. These two are number 4 combined ERA in the country. That's 400-plus schools, right, Matt?
Yeah.
This isn't a, Division I, 150, whatever. This is 400-plus. So without the two of them, we're a different team, and I'm sure you're going to ask about Claudia, but that connection is so important with them.
That's my next question, talking about just that chemistry. Okay, so you have Gina Fallowell and Nikki Becker, but then the battery combo with Claudia Utz have all been together during this stretch.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've watched her develop. We didn't recruit her as a catcher. We saw her in the summer. We knew she could catch. She's a very inquisitive and bright person. That's a great part of her game. She's a tremendous competitor. So when you look at competitors, if you have somebody behind the plate who gives you that competitiveness, and there's probably one word to describe our team, and that's gritty. We've been challenged at times with bad decisions by, I'm going to say, beyond our control. We've been challenged by weather like every team. We've been challenged some days not hitting real well. They're a pretty gritty group, and I would say Claudia is one of those players who's the key to that grit, and certainly a player who deserves a lot of recognition for that leadership.
I think that's a great word, and I think Sunday's a great example of grit. You look at Game 1 against El Verno, a pesky bunch. They were playing a little bit better. Hits not coming as easily in that first game, but you find a way to get that game in the win column, and then you bounce back in Game 2.
When you walk out for a senior day, everybody will say, you know what, we're going to check that at the door, and we're taking care of business. That is something that's really settling and sits with people, right? We walk out there feeling differently. It has very little to do with some of the rotations because those players all can play and know how to play. We get out there and we are it's a little bit different. And then you give teams credit. That young lady who pitched against us, you talk about a competitive person. We see these 4th and 5th year players who come back and they grind. I don't know if I ever believed back in the day people would say that you have to play differently when you're the top dog. You got to play differently because people celebrate fly balls. People celebrate
absolutely
sacrifice bunts. And so, we have to respond to that and stay level. And I think that's one of my goals as a coach is to make sure that my level nature in a game is to coach them hard and to be there and to be excited to enjoy it, but to always believe whatever that amount of time left in the game that we have. But yeah, Sunday was a grind, and if you were inside of my stomach or head, you'd have certainly felt that in a different way. I feel we want to keep our momentum going. So,
We'll talk about the senior class in a moment, but I want to touch on some of the younger players on this team. You have a sophomore, Jasmine Freeze, junior, Maddie Wheat. You look at players like Jess Pozazinski, Megan Bloyer. What have you seen from that group, the sophomores and the juniors, who essentially will take over the load come next year and beyond?
Yeah, and that combination at third base. I mean, there's some crazy kids out there. They're doing some really good stuff. I'm about ready to go to our conference meeting. You know, Jess had never played shortstop, right? She had never played infield. And I shouldn't say that. She did in mop-up duty in the summer. Megan moved positions. We're playing two different very talented third basemen. And then Jazz has really been on the rise for a variety of reasons. It's taken her a while. She's been struggling with some, injury, and she's really getting the shot, and they're making the most of it. And Maddie Wheat in center field, oh my gosh, what a great glove. 1,000 fielding percentage. She leaves her feet easier than anybody else I've ever seen. The catch to release that we talk a lot about in the outfield is amazing, and she comes through that cutoff and makes such beautiful throws and decision making. It's exciting. You look at this and you always hope as a coach you have the layers, right? You have those seniors that can show you the way and have been there, and then you've got to have this next core group to kind of continue that on. But you're right, you're only as good as your in our world. We talk about that 1 through 27 mentality. I know it used to be 1 through 18 right back in the day, man. But 1 through 27, and then you start talking about who all fills those roles and spots. And as you get closer to the players who play a little bit more, bigger roles, boy, there's some real talent there, isn't there?
Let's brag now about the senior class. And you guys got the opportunity to honor the seniors following the festivities on Sunday. And there were 7 seniors honored. There were 8 seniors listed. Claudia Utz, as of right now, expected to be back come next year. But you look at this senior class, 129 and 28. That's their record, 129 and 28 in their time. And the bulk of those losses came in year one. That's 11, so that's not even a high number. But what has the senior class meant to you? What has it meant to the direction of this program?
The players who commit, and I met with each one of them at the beginning of the year or the summer. We talk about commitment and appreciation for commitment. First of all, as a coach, I appreciate them as people. We have a special way, I think, of doing things in terms of our commitment, and I think every coach does that, but this is unique to us, and they've bought in 100%. Whether they're getting 100-plus at-bats a game or a year, or they're getting 7 at-bats, whether they're playing a role, those are players who have really been special to our program. They're foundational players. The 5th year is a unique thing, right? I mean, we're talking about I think you see as coaches, you have to talk to players differently in their 4th year. We talk about a 5th year. Again, they've managed that really well. Players we have not mentioned, and I need you to help me out because they're amazing people, and Abby and Kate. They don't play necessarily every day, but oh my gosh, Sydney Ehrman and Ashley Zappa, corners in the outfield. Those 2 players in the outfield, I would probably argue that we have as good outfield as I've ever seen in college softball. And we went to Tucson, Arizona, and saw some really good teams. Those guys out there are absolutely phenomenal.
And the thing I love about every one of them, it's not just their stats, not what they do on the field, but also off the field, the personalities. Yeah. Even if you're not getting a ton of playing time, the spirit, the personalities, bubbly, positive, and that's key to success.
It is, because at some point in time, a coach will tell you that if a player is not one of my lines is that if you're not enjoying this, there's no hard feelings, but just go do things you enjoy. Move on to other things. Life is way too short for you not to do that. Well, they care deeply about each other. I always say, too, that the bridges to success come in 2 ways, right? The first one is, as a coach, we have to give them the information and the repetitions they need. And if we do that, we succeed with the part on the field. And then the second part is having people that trust you and believe in you. That's collapsing on that little ball in the triangle, or coming through a ball, or hearing a voice. But having a bad at-bat and coming back to the dugout. So the fact that they know that they believe in each other allows them to be free to get to things, and allows them to be free to recover and be who they really need to be to contribute to this team. And that is a pretty special thing. And some of those players, we've given up on captains. We have a leadership council. They're all on it. They're all valuable contributors in our decision-making. I will pull them aside and ask their opinions on a variety of things, and certainly the direction, and that's been very, very very important to our success.
When you look at the success this season, anything surprise you with how things have panned out to this point?
Well, every year you walk in and when you lose 2 players like we did last year on the offensive side, 3, oh my gosh, 3 offensive players that we lost last year, and some important leadership. So you always wonder who's going to be the next group of leaders, and you always wonder who's going to fill some of those roles. And I don't know if I would say surprised. Matt, somebody asked me, do you think you'll be less nervous when you go to the NCAAs this year? We didn't play tight. We didn't. We might have been tired. That bus ride to and from Cleveland was exciting on the way there, and probably realized that at the end of that thing, we were a little bit out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned a little bit about how to manage that, I think, as a coaching staff. But I don't think that they play tight. Every athlete will tell you that they have nerves. But you can watch our players, and they don't handle it in a way that breaks them down. I think they handle it in a way that builds them up. And that's the unique part of an athlete. And I'm not so sure you can always give that to players. Like we like to think as coaches, we can prepare you in practice, and we can say we're going to play this tough schedule and prepare you for this. And there's an element to that. But there's an element that you bring to the table as a person and as a player, and how you handle that to rise above.
Well, it's funny you bring up being tired, because we had Ashley Zappa on that seat a week ago, and she mentions that, you look at the season, obviously you can't control, what happens to the field and this and that, but you guys were on the road quite a bit last year.
Yeah.
So was the number of road trips. So by the time you get to Cleveland, as you mentioned, all the ups and downs of a season with all the success the team had just hit the wall at the end.
We did, and I think, though, that looking at that, there are things that I know we will do differently and better. Whether we're traveling to, Whitewater or our own backyard, or to, someplace in the northern Illinois, I don't think we'll be traveling nearly as far. The thing that you have to remember in every element of your life and every element of coaching and playing is control what you can control, right? And so for us, managing that has meant things like we've done more deep stretching on practices, a little less rigor at the end of the season, some things that we've adapted to this. I think that as a conversation of coaches has been hopefully productive. But as a D3 athlete, they're all going through finals right now. These are young ladies, a team GPA of 3.6 plus last semester. That's amazing. And the majors that they have accelerated. We've got Sydney Urban in her pursuing her doctorate. We got Nikki's in grad school. Gina's in grad school and working 3 nights a week, third shift as a nurse. I mean, you could go on with this list of nursing students and pre-PTs, and they really are putting themselves in through the ringer and responding, right? I mean, it's incredible.
Let's talk NAC tournament. The Falcons heading down to Montgomery, Illinois as the defending NAC tournament champions. First game for the Falcons will be Thursday at 7 o'clock against the winner of the Aurora Benedictine matchup, which will take place Thursday at 2 p.m. When you look at a NAC tournament or a conference tournament as a whole, how challenging is it to win a tournament knowing not only, no matter what seed you may be, but just you guys have all seen each other? There's no secrets at this point in the season.
Nothing was more challenging than the North-South year, right? I mean, where we saw MSOE 5 times.
Yeah.
But that part of going to play really good teams, and I don't think that people understand how tough our conference is. There's some really great coaches. You watch the end of this year and how Marion and Benedictine prepared the teams to get in. And then there's some really talented teams along on the other side of it. But, man, there's some really incredible coaches that are going to prepare. So it is about a little bit of preparation. It's also a lot about just making sure you step back and say, at this point in the year, we are who we are. If you trust and believe in that, good things will happen. And some things, like last year was the easiest road I've ever had in my coaching career. Usually it's, my gosh, you're coming back from behind to get into Saturday, and all those years of being Saturday, having to win 3 games and that, or 2 games maybe it's only, but that part of how challenging that day can be. Playing 1 game on Thursday, sitting back is a major advantage for a program. But it's a great environment. I often think we should do something like that on the front end of the year so every team can get into that, like a round robin, because when you get there, the excitement of that really does help prepare you.
Obviously, it's a home field for Aurora, but for everybody else, it's a neutral site. Do you feel that comes into play at all?
When Coach McKenzie, when Mike asked me earlier in the year if I'd move it to a Friday night, I knew that was going to help us. We're there playing under the lights, and at that point in time, that's what our goal was, right, to play in that evening game. We don't play in the lights very often, and to be there in that circumstance to play them the week before, I certainly think will make us more comfortable. Having been through everything we've been through the last few years, makes it. I really do think our conference needs to look at this and go, yes, it's a great facility, that we should be north and south to save some travel time for players, because we're going to be sitting on the bus waiting for players to finish exams and jump down there. To the South team's credit, they drove up to Alverno for, 10-plus years. So I can't feel too bad about that. But it is a beautiful facility. I mean, if you've ever been there, right, it's amazing.
To wrap it all up for you, I guess, obviously you hope for greater and better things to come, whether it be this weekend, on to the next weekend, hopefully beyond. But to this point, is there a highlight that stands out from this 2023 season?
So I'm going to go to Tucson, Arizona, when I found our grit against that game against Central, where we would love to have finished the game. Circumstances didn't allow us to. I think that when you look at turning points in seasons, and they happen at all different times, I would actually say how we handled that and how we came into Friday and how I looked around and saw people responding, because we got another chance to play them twice. That was probably, for me, telling me, I know I said this in our coaches' meetings. I just said, I feel a lot more comfortable with who we are right now than I wondered who we were going to be in January, because now I'm seeing people step up and fill those roles. Matt, I have to interrupt this for a brief moment and give a shout out to our friend Mitch. And I'm sure you've talked about Mitch. Mitch is one of our trainers. Mitch is home after a car accident, and I just want to give you a little shout out, man, Mitch, and say, let's go. That's my impersonation of Mitch. If that's too loud, I apologize.
No, that's great.
I also want to say thank you to Jeremy, all of our athletic training staff as well. You don't know if you're watching this and you're wondering if you should play Division III. Walk through the doors and see what Coach Siekman does up in the weight room. See what we do in the athletic training room. See what we do from your end of it. And I watch a lot of broadcasts, Matt. I drive my wife insane. But the quality of our broadcast, both from broadcaster and also to production value, is beyond what I see at any other level. And I even believe I'm probably at some of the levels above us, not maybe the TV contract level. But I'm telling you, we have an amazing deal here, and I feel very blessed to be a part of this, and I just wanted to make sure I got my appreciation out for that, and certainly my shout out to Mitch as he goes through his process of getting himself back to seeing us.
Well, Coach Crook, thanks a lot for everything. All the best this weekend and beyond. 25 straight wins for the Falcon softball team. Get it done.
Thanks, man. I appreciate everything. Seriously, thank you.
That is Steve Crook. Special thanks to Josh Dinkelman, along with Jeremy Crawford and Patrick Cassidy behind the scenes. Thank you for watching all year long. This has been Falcon Focus for the 2022-23 school year.